I'm aware the living dinosaur is calling you Booby and you're calling him Dino, but I'm not playing into all that here. I'm going to call you Ian because that's your name. I won't be calling you Doctor because you haven't earned the title. However, you can call me the Reverend Pooka because yes, I am a licensed reverend. A quick clarification for you, Ian. People spew hate at you because you support and put forward a belief system that's being used to increase the privilege of a few over the majority and strip away the freedoms and rights of people. The followers of your belief system are doing that right here in America as I speak. Have been doing it for some time. So if you're wondering why people hate you, well, there you go. But I don't hate you, Ian. I just think you're ignorant or dishonest. Possibly both. By the way, for those of you who recall my asking for donations for my children's educational series project, Ian Juby's Wazoloo channel here is a perfect example of why I felt the burning need to try to do a children's educational video series. His channel is designed to reach a reasonably young audience and help with the indoctrination of young children and young adults. We need shows that combat this sort of thing. But for now, let's just do some good old-fashioned skeptical analysis and reasoned response.
Now, Dino, in the words of the Newfoundlanders, calm down! Good grief, man! You're gonna have an aneurysm! I'm amazed at your anger and vitriolic hatred. I mean, you lost sleep over this, I can tell.
I'm going to do what could be called breaking the fourth wall here. For those watching and who are not aware of it, the living dinosaur style is to use imagery and vitriolic language to amuse while he educates. I think he went too over the top with this video of his, but that's just my opinion, which is based on my personal taste. This may shock you, but I tend to think less is more. But he's got tens of thousands of subscribers, so he's doing something right, so I won't harp on the point. Ian's style is to be goofy and friendly while piling on straw man and fallacy to bolster up the confirmation bias of his followers and ensnare the weak of will. He's got about 2,500 subscribers. I suspect he's going to get a lot more over the months to come. We'll see. Before we go any further, I'd like to point something out. That tirade by the living dinosaur, that's entirely why Ian did his video response to the living dinosaur, so he could use those tirade clips. Ian isn't using any actual science to back up his claims, or rather he uses some, but he uses it wrongly or selectively. Ian's video is all about showcasing a foul-mouthed, abusive atheist so he can drive home a message to his followers that atheists aren't reasonable and logical, they're a bunch of emotional, abusive, immoral, selfish crazies, all while portraying himself as a friendly, nice, philanthropic creationist. He's avoiding science and going for a behavioral comparison. The problem is this fails because both the living dinosaur style and Ian style are both just that. Styles. Adopted for entertainment value. Which is why I guarantee he won't be doing a response to this video. I'm not giving him any fodder for his indoctrination process. At least, I don't think I am. If I'm being rude, it's not because I'm an atheist, it's because I'm a New Yorker. We're made of tougher stuff than most when it comes to giving and taking insults, so we set the bar a lot higher for what's considered an insult. And if you don't like that, I say to you with great respect and politeness, you can go f***.
I'm astounded that Dino didn't think this through. And even more astounded that apparently none of his viewers ever noticed this glaring error either. I wrote to a young man in Arizona and asked him to comment. Harrison replied, "I'm 15 and I think anyone is capable of living in the Sonora Desert. I've lived here for 14 years and suffered no side effects." Apparently the living dinosaur is unaware that there are millions of people living in the desert.
Ian, this response to the living dinosaur is what we call an appeal to emotion with a side of argument from personal experience, in this case 15-year-old personal experience. It's also a poor appeal to authority considering you link to Wikipedia, not the best of authorities and sources if you don't know how to use it. But you're sidestepping the issue here. Population versus square mile in desert areas is generally low due to limited resources, unless you're in a developed country which can transport living necessities like food and water to areas that lack resources to sustain the local population? Let's just say that without modern shipping and construction practices, there'd be no Las Vegas. We're dealing with the idea of carrying capacity for a population's habitat. That's what we're talking about here. Sustainability of population versus available food source. But you knew that, didn't you, Ian? That's why you gave the answer you did, because you desperately had to avoid all of this. Let's go back to the desert scenario that the living dinosaur alluded to and your response, which consisted of you asking the expert opinion of a 15-year-old boy on the subject. And yes, I'm aware that you're using a 15-year-old boy as an expert because you're trying to gain the approval of a younger audience by pandering to them. It's all part of Ian's strategy to win over the youth demographic, so they'll watch his videos and he can indoctrinate them into creationism. But I don't have any 15-year-old boys laying about. I swear, I'm going to use as my expert witness a rancher from Snake Valley, Nevada in the Great Basin Desert who has 50 years of experience being a rancher and observing how many people can live in Snake Valley and how much of the land is arable and usable for crops and livestock. He says you could make this whole valley green or put cities in it if you had enough water. Water has always been the limiting factor, and it always will be. If there were more water here, there'd be more people here. Yeah, I know he's not a 15-year-old boy, but I think the younger audience will listen to this guy because he's a genuine cowboy, and cowboys are always cool. I hope to be one when I grow up one day myself. The point being is if you look at the history of the Colorado River Water Compact, you see suddenly that no, it isn't as simple as you make it out to be. It isn't just a matter of we've got all this usable land so there's no overpopulation. And by the way, you're also avoiding the whole issue of overpopulation versus quality of life. Man does not live on bread alone, Ian. There is such a thing known as quality of life, and part of that quality of life is the measure of man, in this case, whether he has a purpose that makes him more than just another food-consuming numpty. But there's enough food types, tend to ignore that whole aspect of life, the universe, and everything. The other aspect of this you're avoiding is carrying capacity varies. It isn't written in stone. Note the fuss over the Colorado Water Compact recently due to winter inversion. There's numerous factors that determine how much food can be produced in a given region, whether the crops cover all dietary needs, shipping, marketability, pricing, affordability. Just saying X amount of acreage can produce X amount of food, which provides sufficient calories needed for a human to survive. That's a childish way of looking at the problem. Your way.
When I said we haven't even scratched the surface of Earth's natural resources, I wasn't kidding, nor was I speaking in ignorance, contrary to what you seem to think. Let's go with 7 billion people in the world. If you eat 5 pounds of food per day, you would become overweight. 5 pounds per day, 7 billion people, 365 days, is about 12,775 billion pounds of food per year needed to feed the whole world. Now let's pick a middle-of-the-road crop yield of 12,000 pounds of food per acre to build a baseline. And let's use the continental U.S. for growing land, approximately 2,425,600,000 acres. But let's do as you suggested. Let's write off 40% of that land as unusable. An unreasonably high number, but I want to make a point.
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off right there, Ian. First, because you're doing a huge straw man response to the living dinosaurs ad hom attack, and nobody really cares about that. Secondly, because you're basically tossing out numbers on available food versus world population that are based on a hypothetical scenario. And as I mentioned earlier, it is a dishonest approach to the whole issue of overpopulation. Try looking at it this way, and I'm going to make this really simple so you can understand it. Population of Area A is 100,000. Area A produces enough food to cover the needs of 20,000 people. That's their whole accessible food source. Area B produces an excess of food that can cover the needs of Area A right here. Area B cannot or will not ship food to Area A. Guess what? Area A is overpopulated. Their population exceeds their habitat's carrying capacity. You can talk about shoulds and coulds and wills all you want, but at the present moment, that means you've got overpopulation. And all the magic wand waving and talk about how it should be doesn't change the fact that until the issue is resolved, what you have is an overpopulated area. There's no way around that. So all your talk about how there's no overpopulation is a huge fallacy. There is overpopulation. The question is, how do we deal with it? You like to focus on shipping and transportation issues, market expansion, which is fine, despite the fact that clearly that has yet to work sufficiently to cover the needs of all the populations in the world. And until the why of that is resolved, I definitely also focus on sex education and easy access to birth control and abortions, which has been shown to work wonders for overpopulation and quality of life, provided Christian missionaries don't invade the area and spread lies about contraception, not to mention do videos about how there isn't any overpopulation, so therefore we shouldn't be focusing on birth control, but transport issues, which I suspect is kind of what you're inferring here in the long run, Ian. Oh, and your whole discourse on your charitable works, let's examine how this charity of yours works. You and your Christian friends go into an impoverished, starving area to provide food to the natives. A percentage of the population will be so grateful they'll listen to your talk about creationism and Christ. A percentage of them then convert to Christianity. Eventually the area stabilizes and becomes healthy and successful. Those converts have families who they raise in their newfound religion. The family has more family, and so on and so on. And during all this so-oning, the family members donate part of their time and incomes to support your church and its goals. I'd have to do a projection that examines the costs of occasional donations of food versus the value of gaining people who will support your cause and belief system during the rest of their whole life, all while creating more humans who will do the same, because let's face it, the biggest contributing factor to determining your religion is what your parents believe. A projection that I suspect is heavily one-sided, but Ian, that doesn't sound like charity to me. That sounds like a very clever long-term investment scheme. Charity is when you say, do what me and the missus did for almost 15 years, working with organizations that rescue stray animals and getting those stray animals medical care and homes. Animals may be grateful, but they don't carry much cash and mostly donate their time only to the immediate family. So here's my response to you on the issue of charity, Ian. On the issue of charity, I don't want to hear another word out of you, Ian, on this subject, because you have clearly invalidated yourself from the privilege of saying anything about something you clearly know nothing about. When you can show me you've done real charity that involves helping something that can't provide financial support to your belief system in the form of time and money, then you can speak about it, Ian. So go down to your local animal shelter and volunteer right now. Try doing the moral thing for once. Do some good, just for the sake of doing some good. Not because it advances your religion. All right, maybe that's not your cup of tea. Maybe you don't like cats or dogs. Tell you what. If you and your charity can make deliveries to starving people without mentioning Christianity, Jesus, or creationism once, not even have it on the side of the truck with the 1-800-CONVERT number, if you can just deliver that food, and when they ask you why you do it, you just say, I do it because it's the right thing to do. Then you will have earned the right to comment on charity and charitable actions. But until then, I don't want to hear any of you or yours speak about it. Now let's start taking some bets on whether Ian responds to this video. Someone set up a betting pool and put me down for 5 lolcats on a no response. This is the TheTruePooka coming to you from Hell's Kitchen, and if you find these words upsetting,